Ewan McGregor just attended a fan expo in Canada, Toronto, and he revealed that he has been begging Disney for a season 2 of Obi-Wan.
I went to Disney, I said, look, I just want you to, it's just getting embarrassing because every time it must sound like I'm sort of toting for work, you know. Can I? Yes, please. Disney. Now I am to do season 2, but anyway.
My God. Well, if Ewan McGregor is begging Disney, then I don't know what Disney is waiting for. I kind of know their hesitation because the Obi-Wan series was not received that well, and justifiably so. We know that that series was bungled immensely. I mean, it's Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader, and they couldn't even get that right. It's really hard right now at Lucasfilm, and this is why it's been beyond frustrating to be a Star Wars fan right now. But hopefully with the Andor series and everybody praising him, I mean, Pedro Pascal just came out recently, watched it because of his busy schedule, I'm guessing. He didn't have a chance to watch Andor Season 2, and he praised it immensely, so nobody has a bad thing to say about Andor. And of course, that is a tight series. It's just the script and the casting and everything, the dialogue, is something to behold. And I hope for future Star Wars series, especially live action, this is going to be the norm. But there's something that Ewan said, and he said that, I know you think I know something, but I really don't. And this is kind of baffling to me. He says that he's been begging Disney to do a season 2. But according to Daniel Rickman, who is a pronoun leaker, I mean, he has, revealed stuff like, for Marvel, like the return of Taskmaster in Thunderbolts. He even predicted Professor X's cameo in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So he's been here for a while, and he says that a second season of Obi-Wan Kenobi is now fully in development at Disney Plus and at Lucasfilm. However, there is no firm timeline as of now. I can kind of believe that because, well, Star Wars Celebration 2025 came and went. No Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2 announcement, anything like that. But hold on to your hats, folks, because D23 is really near. And we might get some announcement there. Maybe not a trailer, nothing like that, but nothing concrete, but maybe an announcement or a teaser that something is coming with Ewan McGregor, and that, of course, will be an Obi-Wan Season 2. Now, let's talk about an Obi-Wan Season 2. An interesting fact that I have considered is that we don't really need to call it Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2 because it wasn't received that well. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show was, spectacularly bungled and mishandled. The script was really bad. The kid Leia was bad. The fight was bad with Obi-Wan, Vader. I mean, they had one task, Obi-Wan versus Vader rematch. They fought twice, and it was really bad. It's baffling the choices that they went with in the Obi-Wan series, but I'm not gonna bore you with all that. What I'm trying to say is that if Lucasfilm really wants to give it a shot again with Ewan McGregor and give it a shot with another season with Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think that we don't need to call it Season 2. I think that we can have a different Obi-Wan Kenobi series, detaching itself from anybody who worked on Season 1, detaching themselves from that story. It's just a one-off story this time. They don't need to really get with Darth Vader, anything like that. We even saw Palpatine at the end of that series telling Vader that he should have his focus on the Empire more so than Obi-Wan, his former master. That thing is done. So essentially, we know that from the show 10 years before BBY, we can see that in A New Hope they meet again. So I think that's about it with Obi-Wan and Vader. What I would really be interested in is seeing Daniel Logan come back as Boba Fett. This is the most intriguing part for me. Obi-Wan, knowing full well who Jango Fett is and who Boba Fett is, he fought against Jango in Attack of the Clones. He knows Boba Fett personally. What a great show it would be if now, instead of Obi-Wan versus Vader, now it's Obi-Wan versus Boba Fett, or they work together. This softens the blow of, as we see Boba Fett slowly becoming an anti-hero instead of a villain. Maybe his encounter with Obi-Wan could be exactly that, what Boba Fett needed for when we see in the book of Boba Fett, he actually becomes kind of the savior of Tatooine, or becomes a good guy, essentially. So I'm thinking what Lucasfilm is planning is to detach itself from that old series and have an Obi-Wan Kenobi insert title here. So it's not going to be Season 2. It's going to be a new Obi-Wan show with, of course, Ewan McGregor at the helm. Now, who's going to be the director? Who's going to be the writer? This is very important for Star Wars fans. This is exactly the problem that we face with these shows. They get insiders, they get in-house, and right now Lucasfilm in-house is a total disaster outside of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. Everybody else, this is ultimately why the Obi-Wan series failed, because they had disastrous writers and showrunners in place for the Obi-Wan series. They made horrendous choices. Even the Book of Boba Fett, to see a renowned director, Robert Rodriguez, handle the Book of Boba Fett so poorly and so badly. It seemed like he was completely out of touch and didn't belong in Star Wars. This is why Andor was so important. It showed you what you actually need. You need to have good writers. You need writers who understand the Star Wars universe, who understand the world, because Tony Gilroy is not the biggest Star Wars fan out there, but he understands how the world works, how the real world works. Just translate it into Star Wars and that's it. Plug and play, baby. That's it. And can you imagine Obi-Wan traveling to Coruscant, for example, going into the underworld and possibly meeting with Boba Fett, possibly even meeting with Darth Maul, who is the head of the criminal syndicates in there. I mean, this series with Obi-Wan would be much better received than just, Darth Vader pursuing him and he's afraid to fight Darth Vader. Now his Force powers are fully integrated and all that, so it would be much fascinating to see Darth Maul again and Boba Fett, played by Daniel Logan, because I think, the relationship with Tamora Morrison has just soured to a point where I don't think he'll ever come back to Star Wars. I just hope that, Bob Iger, Kathleen Kennedy have finally learned their lesson. So let's see what The Mandalorian and Grogu does before we judge what Star Wars come back. The problem is that even if The Mandalorian and Grogu comes out, Kathleen Kennedy being still there, she is planning to do all sorts of non sequitur movies that go back 25,000 years at the beginning of the Jedi Order, while Dave Filoni is making movies after Return of the Jedi. It's completely baffling to me how there's no connectivity. It's just a mishmash of movies. Whoever wants to come and do whatever they like, and this is my frustration right now. But I think this idea might have finally been scrapped thanks to Bob Iger coming out and literally acknowledging a kind of a stumbling. He is trying to save face, saying that there have been Fantastic Four movies in the past. Maybe that's why this was a successful launch, but it's not going to be the biggest Marvel movie in the franchise. The problem is he sees the writing on the wall. First weekend, everybody's going to go and see it, the fandom, the real fans, and then nobody's going to go watch, because you need the regular people, the people who are not crazy fans, but will just go watch a movie because it's funny, it's interesting. This is why Deadpool and Wolverine worked. It's because Deadpool is a hilarious character to the normies. You have fans and you have normies flocking together. Wolverine, a classic character. Since decades and decades, people know about it. Hugh Jackman coming back to play Wolverine again. So, two classic characters coming back in a hilarious kind of action comedy, and it just serves the normies more so than the fans. You have something for the fans and something for the normies. This is how you get the big bucks. And by what I've read, what Dave Filoni has said about The Mandalorian and Grogu, I think he is going back to that. He is going back to the classics, where it isn't just about lore and just ultimate fans coming to watch the movie, knowing everything, how it connects to the universe, but it's just going to be also about regular folk that come into the cinema, enjoy the movie, go out and say, okay, that was fun, that was a good movie. Word of mouth will spread, more people will flock to it, come watch it, and that's how it goes. If you watch the Fantastic Four, it's a good movie, but most of these movies now have become bland. The problem with it is, first of all, the retro look has become boring. So in the Fantastic Four, for me, the retro look was good and thought of, but it is already played out to such a humongous level that it's become boring. Then you have Galactus, then you have the Silver Surfer, then you have Franklin Richards, Sue's kid. So there's so much, they're throwing so much at you, and the post-credit scene is literally Doctor Doom getting his face healed by Franklin Richards. So there's so much into it that normies are just gonna go, huh? What? So they're not gonna get it. This is, I feel how they lost their track and lost their path. I had the same problem with Superman. Superman is a classic tale. It's a great movie. You should go watch it. It's a refreshing restart. James Gunn did a good job. My problem with it, of course, there's a myriad of characters. Good guys, anti-heroes, bad guys. There's so much to keep track of. I feel the frustration. I literally do. When I talk to regular folk, I'm a big, huge nerd. I have a channel called Star Wars Comics. I talk about Star Wars comics, let alone the Star Wars movies and TV shows. I talk about comics, but I have my ear to the ground. I talk to other people, and I know how they feel. I'm gonna go watch a Star Wars movie. That's a given. But is my cousin, who knows very little about Star Wars, gonna go watch a new Jedi Order movie with Rey in it? I'm thinking no. That's a big, huge no. And this is why Bob Iger coming out with this statement, giving a signal clear to Kathleen Kennedy, who did not announce anything in Star Wars Celebration, gives you kind of the clear view, the clear path to think that these other projects have been slowly shelved, as with many, many other projects. This is why Rian Johnson came out a couple of months ago and told that, no, the trilogy is not going forward. We talked about it. There was some... Previously, he had said that they were working on it. They were excited. There was going to be scripts. Now he said, no, there weren't any scripts. They were just talking and ideas floating around. With the Fantastic Four not recouping the money they wanted to make in the box office, and Superman kind of not getting there too, the writing is in the wall, guys. They know that if they go forward with crazy ideas for Star Wars movies, it's not gonna work. I am in the belief that Mandalorian and Grogu is gonna do fine, it's gonna do great. I can't promise that it's gonna make $1 billion, but I think it's gonna be high up there. A movie, two beloved characters, two original beloved characters in a Star Wars movie after 7 years is good enough for you to have a good box office return. Perhaps not $1 billion, but at $800 or $900 million. I think that's what Mandalorian and Grogu is gonna land. Trust me, when winter will approach, the marketing will be so heavy for that movie. We're gonna get trailers, we're gonna get footage, everything. But Bob Iger has made it clear. We need to be wary of new, fresh, ludicrous ideas, out there ideas to just experiment with $250 million projects. We don't have the money and the time, and especially if Dave Filoni is successful with The Mandalorian and Grogu, Bob Iger is just gonna scrap those ideas from the top. There's not going to be a Kimberg trilogy or a new Jedi Order, anything like that. They want to remain with the classics. It's going to be Mandalorian, Grogu 2, the Thrawn thing, Luke Skywalker perhaps returning to the silver screen again. Imagine how exciting that would be, and why Kathleen Kennedy hasn't done it in freaking 15 years. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Luke Skywalker, I'm talking about a prime Luke Skywalker, mind you, not a decrepit sequel trilogy Luke Skywalker, but what do I know? I've been a Star Wars fan since I was a kid, and Kathleen Kennedy is a billionaire CEO, so good thinking. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm gonna see you soon, but until then, may the Force be with you.